as we celebrate our country's 250th anniversary, I'm really moved by what kind of a nation that we are. And as far as like one of the things that I'm really passionate about, honestly, is manufacturing in America. I always have been, right? As a young child growing up in New England, my grandfather was an electrician and worked for a manufacturing company. And so did my grandmother, and so did my aunt. So manufacturing kind of has always been a buzzword in my head. Not that I wanted to go and be a factory worker. Those are very noble jobs because none of the products you use are going to be made without the people actually making the product on the floor, okay? But for me, manufacturing is the heartbeat of America. And I know that during World War II, we gave up a lot of our manufacturing and moved that thing overseas. And what I find is that what people don't understand is how much we gave up of our country by giving away our ability to make a pair of socks at a reasonable price, right? And I realize that it's expensive to live in our country, but we gave up a certain amount of control when we gave up manufacturing in this country and offshored it to a bunch of places, right? We just did. And so the problem that I see now trying to bring manufacturing back to our country is the fact that a typical manufacturing plant, it could be smaller to larger, especially in some of the spaces I work with in industrial commercial products. These manufacturing plants take a heck of a lot of time to actually create and develop, right? So like, a manufacturing plant that say makes ball valves and mixing valves and backflow preventers. Okay, well, they're gonna need a pour deck, okay? So a pour deck, do you realize that the reservoir inside of a pour deck is like the size, it's either like a football field or 5. Either way, it's quite huge, right? Quite huge. And it's not just the size of the facility and the way the facility operates, it's the machinery inside the facility, where those machines get made, because guess what those machines get made? They don't get made in America, friends. They get made in Germany and Italy and places like that are like they specialize in those type of things, right? So most manufacturers, even if you're manufacturing something in this country, you're buying your machines from overseas. And those are not just sitting on a shelf, right? These are custom made products, right? That take months to years to get made and then shipped over here, right? So as a nation, I think we need to have a really big focus on encouraging U.S. manufacturing to come back to this country, right? It does so much for us as a nation to be able to have more control over the things that we consume and use inside of our own country. I remember a few years back, I was very blessed to go on a trip for my 55th birthday, and I happened to be in Switzerland, and we were on a tour, and I learned that in Switzerland, because they were affected during the war and got shut out of a lot of supplies and a lot of things, that 50% of the products they consume in that country have to be made in Switzerland. End of story, period, right? Even the way they do agriculture and everything in that country is very different because they want to protect the land, protect the people, protect everything. And I find that very interesting, right? And I feel that as a nation, it's gotten really convenient to offshore things. And I think that we need to find more solutions to bring manufacturing back here to this country. And when people are thinking of starting businesses and doing businesses, you should think about starting it right here in this country. End of story. All of you people that manufacture all of your clothing goods outside of this country, I think you should rethink that. I'm sorry. And it's a problem in our society where they have to offshore because they can't afford to pay the wages needed in this country to pay an American worker, because everybody deserves to have a good way of life and make a good wage and have great benefits and work for great companies. That's what we all deserve here, right? And if you can't find that, you start your own business like me. But anyway, but we all deserve that, right? And some of us are lucky to get that. One of my clients, his VP at his business, has been with him for like almost 30 years. And he interned from him in college. And he is the nicest client I have. And I always tell him, you are so lucky because you have like the nicest boss ever. Like you only had one awesome boss your whole life. Is that you? If you had one awesome boss in your life, I want to hear about it in the comments. So please, I got to hear about it because there's got to be more than one person in this world that's had only like one boss in their whole life and they were awesome. Anyway, I digress. But it is really important that we need to think differently as a country and as a nation. And so when you're starting a new business or you have a business and you're outsourcing, how can you do it differently here? How can you partner with a local manufacturer that can make you your product or your piece, right? one of my friends in my Goldman Sachs program, his name is Scott, and he owns Origin Manufacturing, and they do carbon fiber products for people, right? And they do a lot of stuff in drones and for a lot of other in aerospace and defense, and they're really high tech. And I love the things that he does because he can customize solutions for people. And what happened for him is that things that were getting done offshored in China and other places ended up getting returned back in the US because of everything that's going on. So if anything that's going right for US manufacturing is drawing attention to the fact that we need it back here. So as our country celebrates 250 years, okay, our little birthday here, we as a nation need to grow us to be stronger. And what that means is that there needs to be more people out there being entrepreneurs, being business owners, especially if you're thinking about manufacturing something, manufacture it here. Do it here. Make your country proud. Create jobs in your community. Create a family legacy inside your family because you can do that. Because I have faith you can do that. Find something you're passionate about because this country is full of people that have made big things happen for themselves. I've made things happen for me inside of my business, and I know that you can make something inside of your business happen for you too. So, 250 years America, God bless you. I'm so glad to be an American. Peace out.